another week over. It's now Friday the 5th of January, and it was a pretty quiet week for dividends. There was a total of 34 dividend payments for €6.01. I received 61 cents in interest on top of 1p in interest, and there has been a bit of news regarding the uninvested cash in the account. So as of the new year, I no longer paid the 20% withholding tax on the interest I receive for free cash. So on top of the amount of interest I receive on the cash going up in January, I also don't have to pay the 20% withholding tax. So good news. There has also been some dividend increases and some dividend decreases. So a little bit of good news first. Imperial Brands has upped the dividend. They pay 4 times a year, and the previous dividends were for 21.27 pence and 49.31 pence per share. And both of those have been upped slightly to 21.59 pence and 51.82 pence per share. Then we have a decrease of the dividend from Global Net Lease. It also pays 4 times a year and has a very high yield of 14%, so of course they've dropped it. They've gone from paying 40 cents per share to 35.4 cents per share. Then another increase from the Blackrock Latin America Investment Trust, which also pays 4 times a year. They've gone from paying 7 cents per share to 8 cents per share. Then a bit of bad news. I'd made a video about this stock about 2 days ago, and during that I was saying that they probably will cut the dividend because they have a new CEO, they have no profits and they have quite a bit of debt. And then they released their earnings a few hours later and they've cut the dividend nearly in half. So that's 47 years of consecutive dividend increases gone down the drain. But fair enough, they had to. Next to some good news, a pretty big increase from Mastercard. They've gone from paying 57 cents per share to 66 cents per share. Although the yield at the moment is still 0.6% because the stock price is so high. Then more good news from Abbvie. They've gone from paying $1.48 per share to $1.55 per share. And American Tower has also upped the dividend. Looks like they've been increasing it with every payment, but the previous one was $1.62 per share, and this is now $1.70 per share. So it's not all bad news. And then for the portfolio itself, I'm still about 1% down. I now have 746 dividend paying positions. My realised profit hasn't changed, it's still €409. I've received €1,025 in dividends so far, and I've deposited about €17,800. And then for the breakdown of the week's dividends, on Monday the 1st of January there was none, just 4 cent interest on cash and 1p interest. Then Tuesday the 21st of December was a little bit eventful. Started off with 16 cent lending interest, and then there was 23 dividend payments for a total of €4.30, and then the day ended off with 5 cent interest from cash. Then Wednesday the 3rd of January there was only 2 dividend payments for 25 cent, 6 cent lending interest and 4 cent interest from cash. Thursday the 4th of January was also pretty quiet. There was the 6 cent lending interest. I think this deposit here is the refund from the withholding tax on uninvested cash. Then there was 3 dividend payments for 33 cent and 5 cent interest from cash. And then Friday the 5th of January, there was the 6 cent lending interest, 6 dividend payments for a total of €1.13, and then 4 cent interest on cash. So it was a pretty quiet week overall. 34 dividend payments for €6.01. There was €1.25 in interest and 1 pence in interest. And then the tail of the tape of the portfolio. Rolls-Royce is still holding on to the number 1 spot, about 250% up. And it's a lot of all the same stocks up here. A lot of energy companies still. And then the absolute worst is still the same. Adler Group is still 92% down. This one here is in the middle of winding down. This one has been delisted. Evraz has been sanctioned. This one has declared bankruptcy. So all around bad news down this end. The largest positions in the portfolio haven't changed. Realty Income is still number 1. And the smallest positions haven't changed. I did notice during the week that one stock is missing. I was pretty sure I already had it, but I must have sold it a couple of years ago and bought something else. But it popped up in the news today. That's this one, WH Smith. So the dividend yield at the moment is only about 2%, and I'm going to use half of this week's dividends to buy in. But in the process of doing this, I've also discovered that I can buy in British pounds. I think I never discovered this because I never had British pounds in this portfolio. So that's quite interesting. That changes things for the future. But for the moment, I'm going to stick to investing in euro. So I'll put half the week's dividends in, get the ball rolling with that one, and add it into the portfolio spreadsheet, just to make sure I don't forget about it. So with that buy, we're up to 747 dividend paying positions. Then that should go in by tomorrow. That will be my newest position. And apart from that, all of my new ones are all just the Canadian dividend stocks I added in last week, and my oldest positions haven't changed. The next thing I have to do is something I've been putting off for a little while, but I have to make sure I get all of these pies up to date for 2023 before we get too far into this year. So I have to do the Noble 30, the Dividend Aristocrats, Dividend Champions, Dividend Challengers, and Dividend Contenders. So I'll probably do them one at a time, starting with the Noble 30. But anyway, that's pretty much it for this one, and we'll pick up where we left off next week.